Hello, everyone. My name is Sharissa Jackson. I am the Chief Medical Executive of ANVETS. I'm the creator and organizer of Who's at the Table. For those of you who've been watching the interview series, we just concluded our first season on last Wednesday, and I'm happy to report that we are already in production for season 2. But in the meantime, what I want to do is share a very special edition called the special edition for men veterans. What I want to do is showcase 3 men veterans and their stories because they too are deserving to be at the table. I don't discriminate at the table, so it's important to me that we hear about their stories, hear about their challenges, and how they feel about what's happening to women veterans in the veteran community right now. I'm so honored and I'm so excited to have our second guest today on the special edition of Who's at the Table, and that is none other than Mr. Jeremy Williams. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for being on the show today.
Absolutely, Sharissa. Anything you need, ma'am.
So tell me, why do you deserve to be at the table?
Because I help a lot of people. I think the real answer to that question is, why shouldn't we be at the table? And a lot of it has to do with our perspective on what's going on today in the veterans community. And I think it's not binary. It's not a linear question. We have such abstract observations of what goes on in our community. And I think everybody from across the table needs to be at the table, and because we all help somebody.
Okay. So tell me, Jeremy, there's 4 branches in the military. You chose the Marines. Of all the branches, why did you choose the Marines?
Because I wanted to be the best.
And you thought you could be the best in the Marines?
I tried a few times.
And so what was your military career like in the Marines? What kind of job did you do, and how many years did you complete?
I retired as a civil affairs Marine. So what we did in our occupational specialty, I'm a retired civil affairs non-commissioned officer, and we facilitated the reconstruction of both physical and political infrastructure in the battle space. So we went into Iraq, we broke it, we bought it. So we were the teams that went in there and helped with contracting with local contractors to build schools, hospitals, physical infrastructure like sewage systems, power grids, funded banking systems, built police stations, recruited police forces, worked with provincial governments, worked with politicians from across the State Department, all the way to the provincial government and the Iraqi parliament.
Wow. And was the military something you always wanted to do?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, I wanted to go to college first. Like, I saw the movie A Few Good Men, and I wanted to be a JAG lawyer. And I was planning on going to college first, and I had I was given one of 3 choices. All 3 choices involved enlisting in the Marine Corps. So I enlisted in the Marine Corps and left Texas and traveled the world and was stationed in Camp Pendleton and went to Iraq 3 times. And I think it was the best decision I ever made.
Awesome. I hear that a lot from military veterans that chose the Marines or any branch, that when I asked, was it a regret, they would say, no, it wasn't a regret. It was the best decision that I ever made. And I will agree. I did 23 years in the Air Force, and it was truly the best decision I've ever made, though I was deployed 4 times. And one of the things that you and I have in common is the fact that we were both deployed to Iraq. And you were deployed how many times, Jeremy?
3.
Yep. I was deployed twice to Iraq, and we were both at Balad, right?
I went through Balad on my way home.
Okay. And tell me about your experience there with those 3 deployments to Iraq. Just tell us some things that you experienced, things that you saw, and how has that impacted your life?
Oh, it changed my life. It was a life-changing experience. It was definitely the hardest thing I'd ever done, next to being a father. And I think my first two tours were the hardest because it tore me away from my kids. My oldest son was 3 weeks old when I left for the invasion in '03. And then my youngest son was 3 days old when I left
Mm,
for my second tour in 2004. And it was just, it does something to you when you don't have the opportunity to bond with your children at that young of an age.
mhm.
And so I had this wonderful experience, this beautiful experience of becoming a father and seeing my kids born and holding them for the first time, and then having to pack a sea bag and board a ship or board a plane and head to a war zone. I mean, it was pretty hard. I mean, my dad didn't talk about it, and he was, he was trying to be there to support me as much as he could through that time. But my family, a lot of my family doesn't talk about it.
Wow. I mean, when I was deployed the first time, my daughters was much older than your kids, so I can only imagine how that tugged on your heart, knowing that you were leaving them, and then you don't know, when you were coming back or if you were coming back. So how did that impact your life?
Um, it made it more difficult to reconnect
Mm,
because there was always that anticipation of, okay, when am I leaving again? When am I leaving again?
mhm,
And then when you would leave, you're compartmentalized and you've numbed yourself so you can focus on surviving and coming home.
mhm,
But then you're subject to the next iteration of deployment and then the
mhm,
next iteration of deployment. And so you're re-experiencing the cycle of emotions that, or at least I did,
mhm.
where I just felt like I just wanted to be home with my family. And I mean, it was hard. It was definitely the hardest thing I'd ever done.
And did you have the experience, like I know for me, I went the first time, so it was brand spanking new, and then to go back to Iraq the second time, it's like, oh, I did it the first time, I can do it the second time. And then went to Afghanistan the third time, it's like, oh, I've been deployed twice, I know what to do the third time. Did you ever get that kind of complacency in knowing what to expect? And did that make it easier for you when you went off the second and the third time?
No,
Mm-hmm.
um, complacency kills. And that was always in the back of my mind was that, my first tour, we were in the southern Iraqi desert for the invasion. And that's an animal all of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Watching the big log train just invade the country and you cross the line of departure. That was one experience where you could not be complacent. Like your
Mm-hmm.
Marines held you accountable. You held your Marines accountable.
Mm-hmm.
There was this culture of accountability during the invasion. And then the second deployment um, was in Anbar. The second and third deployments were in the Anbar province. And those were just hard places to be. It's like you had to keep your head on a swivel. You had to remain vigilant. You had to make sure that you paid attention and you engaged in training, so that you were effective at your position, whether it was standing a post, whether it was walking patrol, whether it was manning a gun. You had to be on your A game at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And my third tour specifically, because I already had those two previous deployments, I felt confident that I knew what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what to look for. I knew the language. I knew the culture. I knew the area. I guess from a bird's eye view. But I mean, there were things that I think I could have been better at, but there are things also that I know that I did very well.
Yeah. And I mean, I think too, we all come back with something. And I know we don't come back whole. And so, would you agree that after being deployed for 3, 4 times, that you didn't come back whole? And as a result of that, you experienced some mental health issues?
I left a part of me at the government center in Ramadi, Iraq.
Mm. And elaborate a little bit on that. What does that mean?
It's hard it's hard to allow yourself to say, hey, I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the last time I was in a firefight, last time I felt it and I heard it and I smelled it,
Mm-hmm.
there was a part of me that I just couldn't reconcile.
Mm. Mm. Is it
That's
because you left some people behind, or is it because you had that guilt of knowing that you survived and others didn't?
I think a lot of it had to do with survivor's guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it had to do with following orders
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't want to follow. And you know, I've reconciled some of that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's extremely hard. And I think anybody that's been in a firefight that's, you know, for lack of a better word, traded lead with Al Al Qaeda or the Muj, um, you'll understand. And I think even you as a nurse understand because you've seen the aftermath.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the one thing that we don't talk about is that, you know, there's this bravado, there's this, you know, um, assumption that, you know, I'm a bad person. I'm awesome. I'm great. I do my job. I do it well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I put rounds in the black. You know, I'm the best thing on this planet when it comes to winning wars and making Marines. That's what we do. And there's no contestation.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're at home and the doors close and the lights are off and you're laying in bed, that bravado doesn't take away the sting and doesn't take away the daily reminders, the smells, the sights, the sounds. Those things stay with you forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, like Plato said, only the dead have seen the end of war. So we're still living, and that war is still living inside of us. So it's how do I reconcile? And so now, I think to answer your question, it's like there's a part of me that's still looking for reconciliation of my own that happened in Ramadi or near Fallujah or during the invasion.
Mm-hmm.
There are just things that we say, that we do, that we don't realize we're saying and doing that we're looking to find that reconciliation.
Mm-hmm. And how do you feel you're coping with that? Because I think if you continue to chase that, do you ever think you'll catch up to it? Do you think you'll ever reconcile everything?
I'm a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I realized that, hey, I got some serious reconciliation to pursue,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lifelong process.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just go, hey, I'm gonna go see my therapist. I'm gonna go to the vet center and I'm gonna be enrolled in 6 or 7 sessions, and then you know they'll tune me up and put me back on the road.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lifelong process, and I've taken a personal interest in that part of my recovery. And I think another thing that we discount is giving ourselves permission to get that kind of care.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important, is to maintain that the perspective that strength isn't always in not asking for help, but there's strength in asking for help. I think that's where I allowed myself to go and find that reconciliation.
And so, did you? And I ask everybody the same question: did it take a situation or a circumstance or an event that where you hit rock bottom and you just had to say, "I got to go do something. I got to seek help." I know what my day was when my PTSD showed up. It showed up, and I was like, "Oh my God, I got to go do something." I recall that day, that hour. I can tell you everything that happened that day when PTSD showed up, and I knew I was in some trouble. Did you have a similar situation where you hit rock bottom, something happened, and you knew you had to go get help?
Oh yeah, my wife told me.
Oh wow.
She
And what?
said, if you don't go get help, we're not going to last very long.
Mm, mm,
And so it was like, whoa, in order for me to take care of her, I had to take care of me.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you and everybody watching that if we don't get help, the trauma that we give our family is twice as bad.
Yeah. That
We
is.
have to. We have an ethical obligation.
Yeah.
If we don't take care of ourselves, then we're not going to be able to take care of our family at all. Period.
Yeah.
Our friends. I mean, there was a point in my journey after, well, in retirement. Let's qualify that, where I hit lows, ended up in jail,
Wow.
woke up drunk, half dressed with an empty whiskey bottle in the front yard. Um, DWI, like just a horrible cycle of downward. It was just like watching a plane just descend at a rapid rate, uncontrolled toward a mountainside. It was horrible.
Wow.
And waking up one day and seeing my kids, and it's just like, what am I showing my kids? What am I, hey, uh, their dad is the crazy war vet dad who hoots and hollers at the moon and shoots his shotgun and gets drunk and the cops show up. It's like, hold on, we have to change the narrative.
Wow.
And I think what's important is that we have to recognize that there are men and women that suffer from the invisible scars of war that aren't recognized immediately, that need to be given serious consideration when they're there, when they're preparing to separate, when they separate,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not the VA's job to call you every day or to check in on you every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're They're a system by which we receive our care, but it's the community
Yeah.
we're involved in that should be taking those that have issues. And I lost jobs because of it, and I think if we can prevent someone losing a job, someone becoming homeless, someone being addicted to a substance,
Mm-hmm.
somebody committing suicide, somebody getting arrested for spousal abuse or for child abuse, all of those things are indicators of an underlying lack of treatment. And I think if we can recognize those signs, like, hey, I was in trouble. I had a boss pull me into the office, take my security badge, and fire me or walk me off the premises because I wasn't getting my care.
Wow.
And I think those cold, hard facts are the facts that we need to discuss, because if we don't discuss them, they're not going to be spoken about.
No,
And they'll
no.
be taboo. And we will still have the stigma of you have to be strong and you have to be stoic in public and you have to have this facade that, hey, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Instead of saying it's okay to say you're not okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's recognizing that you need help. It's so important because I think the community don't understand when we come back from war. It just doesn't affect us as the soldiers. It affects everybody that's around us. That affects our kids, our wives, our husbands. It affects the whole community that's around us in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So the system is there to help the veteran, but who's assisting with the kids and the wives and the husbands, who's getting the aftermath of this soldier coming back from war? And so I applaud your wife for saying what she said. Look, you got to go get help because we ain't gonna make it through this. And I mean, I hope and wish the viewers understand how deep that is, because it's the family that's taking care of us when
That's
we.
right.
So if our families are saying, you need to get help, damn it, we need to get help because they're taking care of us. And I think that's so important that your wife did that for you. And you chose to do it, not only for her, but for yourself.
Well, and the choice was easy.
Mm.
The choice was easy because I have, and I'll be transparent, I have a strained relationship with my kids. I have a non-existent relationship with my my ex-wife, and I wasn't going to allow myself to fall into that category of being that Marine who goes off to combat and comes home and loses his wife and kids to divorce and separation, and
Mhm.
then never finds healing and finds happiness and love ever again. And it's taking a long time for me to recognize that if my wife is saying that you need to get the help, she's saying it out of love.
Yeah.
She's saying it because she cares.
Yeah.
And if your friends, if your girlfriend, if your husband, your wife, your kids say, Mom, Dad, you need to get help because this is burning down the house.
Yeah.
It's not a personal attack. It's an outcry. It's an intervention. You know, it's that red flag. It's that stop sign that says stop. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go see the therapist.
Yeah. And then I think sometimes we don't want to see those warning signs. I know for me, when I reflect on some of the things that I did, before my PTSD showed up, there were some yield signs, man. There were some yellow signs flashing, right? To say slow down, Sharice, to slow down. But I didn't slow down. And it wasn't until that stop sign hit me in the face and I needed to pull back and realize, girl, what's going on here? And I think sometimes we don't want to admit to those warning signs. And I want the viewers to know that if you are having those warning signs and you are starting to feel a certain kind of way and your families are saying things, those are the warning signs. Listen to them, yield to it before you hit smack red bottom, like you did, in jail, DUIs. If there's a way to prevent people from spiraling down that path, Jeremy, I think you and I can agree that is what we want here by talking about it honestly and openly.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many indicators that can help us provide a better opportunity to provide assistance, to
Mm-hmm.
provide services. I mean, we have all these data collection organizations where, hey, we're collecting all this data and we're finding all these pathways and referral systems to give somebody help and send them to the employment specialist and the housing and the therapy. But if we don't prepare the narrative
Mm-hmm.
and remove the stigma,
Mm-hmm.
nobody's going to get the help.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how many times we say, go get the help. If it's perceived as weakness and nobody wants to do it, then we're still going to be experiencing this staggering suicide rate. Still going to see this epidemic of opioid addiction and substance dependency and spousal abuse and child abuse and recklessness and
Mm-hmm.
violence. And, and the indicators are there.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just have a conference and say, hey, look what we've done. We need to be able to extend an open arm and say, here, it's okay to get help.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
that's across the board. That's just not something that men go through, but women go through it as well. And I honestly believe that being open and having those conversations, and like you said, have a narration around it and let us all listen. We can find solutions and let people know that it's okay to not be okay and get the help that they need. And I applaud you for doing what you've had to do. I know men, you guys have that macho, attitude you have, but it must have taken you quite a bit to be able to say as a Marine, hey, I need help. And do you feel like you've gotten past that and you're open and you're like, look, I'm working on me, or you still have a long way to go?
I'm always, I'm going to be a work in progress to the day I die. Um, I've done a lot because of what I've gone through, and I think it's helped give me a better perspective on, okay, I'm at this benchmark here,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is 14 years into retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what kind of work do I have to do to be here at 20 years into retirement?
Mm-hmm.
And then where am I at here as I get, now I'm at 10 years of marriage, 20 years of marriage. I've been with, H-Wave for 20 years, what part of me is speaking to me now on how I can accept help, on how I can go and find help. You know, I look at it like this, and it took me my therapist to tell me this. You know, if you have a problem finding the answer to a question for a school report, whether you're in graduate school, law school, PhD, whatever, where do you go to find the answer? Where do you go get help?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would either Google it,
Mm-hmm.
or back in the day, I'd go talk to the librarian.
Mm-hmm.
Ma'am, you raise your hand. Can I have some help?
Mm-hmm.
And then it hit me like the light went on. Like my brain was started to, like exploding because it was just too much for me to handle. It's okay to raise your hand and ask for help, just like it was when you were in a library asking for help.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Because the answers that you need, they may not be in the book that you have, but that therapist may have something that can help. That the peer support group may have something that can help.
Mm-hmm.
That peer mentor may have something that can help.
Mm-hmm.
Your wife, your husband,
Mm-hmm.
your parent, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
That's real good advice there, because once you're able to do that and you ask for help, then I feel like then you're on the other side of what you're dealing with. You can now say, I'm receptive to help. Tell me what I need to do. I can put an action plan in place. I called it my survival plan. I'm like, what do I need to do to survive? I got to survive for myself. I got to survive for my kids. I got to survive to make money so I can take care of my kids. So after I got on the other side of it and received the help, I was able to say, like you said, every day is a work in progress. This is my survival plan. And do you have a said plan, or how do you cope throughout the day?
I have an action plan.
Nice.
I have an action plan. A bunch of it's already on the wall. Get through school, get a good job, buy a home, provide stability. And so, like, the physical attributes have been checked off,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the degrees, the job, the house. But now it's like all that's over.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've built this culture for myself where it's okay to go ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm gonna go find a mortgage counselor to help me find a mortgage and get the best
Mm-hmm.
mortgage rate and apply for my VA home loan guarantee. I'm gonna go and hire a realtor, ask a realtor for help.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these things have this underlying theme of help. And so what am I doing now is that I'm giving my wife consideration on, if I have to get help, do we have the right time, right, in order for me to decompress, in order for her to decompress? Are we going to marital therapy, right? So having all these line items that I like to accomplish throughout the week. It's simple as go to therapy twice a week, go to therapy once a week, take an hour after therapy to decompress.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you're going through raw, visceral emotion, you need that time to sit back and reflect and process and reconcile, and then get back to the grind or get back to the family.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's part of my action plan, is providing my wife time to decompress, my wife time to get her care, my wife time to just have alone time. And then how do I make sure that I'm not just being a provider when it comes to, here's a house, here's a car, here's gas money, grocery money, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how am I providing, what I can provide as a man, so that I'm developing this culture in the family. Hey, it's okay to raise your hand and ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay to call dad and say, Dad, I need a device.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to call dad and ask him, hey, can you talk to me about safe sex? It's like, let's have those hard conversations, because in order for me to take care of you, I take care of me. So
Absolutely.
taking care of me is part of my action plan, but to better take care of the family.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And I appreciate you just being vulnerable and telling us, some of the things that you've had to deal with. And I do believe the viewers can be inspired by your way of coping, which is having your action plan in place. But it's time for us to get into the favorite part of the show that everybody loves. And that is the rapid fire segment of the show. And afterwards, I will want you to talk about the plight of women veterans and what message you would give to women veterans. So we'll get through the rapid fire section. We'll allow you some time to do a message to women veterans, and then we can close and you can go and continue to enjoy this beautiful time with your family. Okay?
You got it.
All righty. So the first one is life is feeling
amazing.
That was quick. You're not supposed to do it so quick, Jeremy, but okay. All right. PTSD affects me by?
Makes me sad.
In what way?
Because I'm not with my brothers anymore. It makes me think about things. And then I look back and it's like, there were good times. There were really hard times. So sometimes it makes me sad because I miss the Marines I was with. Sometimes it makes me sad because it brings back memories that were both good and bad. So, that's the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah, I love it.
I can go deeper, but we're on the rapid fire, so.
No, that's totally fine. One thing I will change in my life is?
Baldness.
Let's try this again. One thing I would change in my life is?
If I could change one thing, and I can start to change one thing, it would have to be my patience. I need to learn to become more patient. I would change my level of patience.
Okay. And that's with people in general? Are you talking about your kids?
Every way. Dogs, people, dogs, humans, emotions, drivers on the road.
You're like patience across the board, Sharice.
Oh yeah, that's right. Just paint the whole board. Patience.
Okay, you talked about substance abuse, opioid addictions. What will you change about those things in your life?
Don't do it. Just don't do it. I tell my VA doctors, don't give me opioids. I won't take them. Don't even prescribe me anti-inflammatories. I won't take them because they're just too hard on the body. And I've had family that suffered kidney disease, kidney failure and liver failure and renal failure. So it's like, no, I'm already predisposed to that nonsense. I don't want to give myself any more, open availability for a substance to compromise the function of my body. No. And I think taking a stand and helping other veterans, and there are alternatives to opioid use for pain management, for chronic pain. It's like, I use an H-wave because I get the greater benefit, and the more I use it, the longer I'm pain-free, and it's VA approved. So it's not like I'm getting something that is going to go in my body and that's going to alter my state of mind, that's going to limit my ability to function, and will potentially cause me to become involved in the criminal justice system if I take it and drive.
Yeah.
So I think if there's one thing I can do, it's to tell more veterans about, hey, find alternatives, find drug-free alternatives, pain management, and the chronic pain.
That's awesome. Suicide is?
Horrible. Preventable.
Did you ever encounter any suicide ideations or incident where you wanted to take yourself out?
Oh yeah. I don't. if anybody that gets back from Iraq or Afghanistan says no, um, they were either living under a rock in the fob. No, not even the fob. Like they're at like back in the rear where nothing happened, lying to everybody, including themselves. Um, I had a plan.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah. Like I was like gung ho about it.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I had the uniform ready and everything. It was just going to be spectacular. Um,
Mhm.
that's when I was in that downward spiral where I was like going through a handle of Jack Daniels and
Mhm.
smoking 10 packs of cigarettes a day. It was like horrible.
Mhm.
And because my mind wasn't right, because I didn't have support, because I didn't want to go get the support. Like I was my own worst enemy. And so I put myself in a position to where I thought that the only way out was physically bite the bullet.
And this was one time, or how many times did you contemplate it?
It was during my divorce. It was like a constant. It was like a constant thing. It was like,
Wow.
okay, not today. I made it through today. Maybe tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well,
It
I'm so
was like,
glad you made it on the other side, man.
oh yeah, me too. Now it's like, man, I got things to do.
Yeah.
No,
You have things to do, and
right,
you're worth being here, and this world
right.
needs you. So I'm so glad that you decided that for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a true testimony that, you may have a plan, viewers, but it doesn't mean you have to carry through that plan. You do have a way out, and choose that way out, and choose life over taking your life.
And you know what works? 1-800-273-8255. Press number 1.
Yep.
It works. Um, it works. And I mean, I called it a few times, and it helped.
Mm.
It got me through the darkness, if even for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
and it helped me find that lucid understanding that I gotta call doc.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta call I gotta call my friend Ray.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he'll help. And
Yeah.
so it's like it helped me find. It's like the resources are there. We just have to let them know, hey, we need help.
Yeah.
It took me a while. I felt weak. I felt vulnerable. I felt like it was the only option. But hey, option 1 is an option too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as we conclude, I want you to talk a little bit to women veterans. Again, you're here at a platform that's all about women veterans, and us telling our stories, and our stories being heard and valued. What message would you give to women veterans, particularly during this time when military sexual assault is on the rise, or it's been there, but conversations about it has been on the rise? What would you say to a woman veteran that's watching this particular episode?
No means no. My mom taught me that a long time ago. When a woman says no, it means no. Keep your damn hands to yourself. Keep your thoughts and words to yourself. Be respectful. And what angers me the most is the lack of accountability in the military establishment. I mean, let's talk about the entire establishment, every branch
Yeah,
in defense,
yeah,
Coast Guard included. Um, it's unacceptable behavior.
yeah.
Contrary to the fabric of democracy. Let's just put it out there.
Yeah,
Contrary to our core values,
yeah.
regardless of branch, we all have similar core values.
Mm-hmm.
So it's contrary to our core values. It brings discredit upon us as Americans to allow another American to victimize a woman,
Yeah.
an American, to victimize her, and then be released with impunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that we do need, I mean, if I were to get down into the policy, we need a third party independent investigating body for every single allegation across the military.
I agree.
and we need to remove the capability for physical sexual assault from the hands of commanders and give it to an independent investigating body that can refer charges at the highest levels, because it's it's a heinous crime. And if you are raped or assaulted in the general public, in a workplace, at a sports venue, you're charged with rape. You know, you are confined, you're tried, you're convicted, then you're in prison, right? Doesn't happen that way in the military.
No, we know this.
It doesn't happen. It's not, due process goes out the window when it comes to to addressing that issue. Sexual assault, military sexual assault, violence against a woman is unacceptable. And fight back. That's all we can do is fight back. That's all we can do is take the time to be the vocal advocates to say enough is enough. No means no. I'm originally from Houston, Texas, where Vanessa Guillen just was buried last Saturday. And it's heartbreaking to see one of my fellow Houstonians getting interred because, I had to watch my language here, but she have this filth that was unfortunately in uniform that was violent toward a woman that was doing her job and was saying, "Hey, I'm uncomfortable. No means no. Leave me alone. Don't say that. Don't do that." And then is victimized. So if you're in uniform and you're a woman and you're wearing the cloth of this nation into service, you I think represent the best of America, because you're our mothers, you're our sisters, you're our wives, you're our friends, and you deserve respect. And you deserve dignity, and you deserve to be treated with the utmost level of respect and dignity, just as if I was in uniform again. So I think every woman that stands and takes that oath of enlistment, or when they get a commission, and I respect you and I appreciate your service, and don't be afraid to fight, because it's the right thing to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that message. And, I felt that, and I appreciate that as a woman veteran, hearing that from you, that you're in our corner and that you support us in being able to speak up for, situations like this and speak out against those that victimize us. So I appreciate that. We're going to wrap up the show, but before we go, can you tell the viewers where they can find you, what you're doing in the future, and your final closing thoughts?
So you can find me on LinkedIn if you want. My name is Jeremy Williams. I'm under Jeremy R. Williams on LinkedIn. The Government and Veteran Service Organization Liaison for Electronic Waveform Lab out of Huntington Beach, California. We make the H-Wave, so shameless plug. And I plan on ending the opioid crisis amongst veterans. So if you are on opioids, give me a call and we'll get you an H-Wave.
Absolutely. I think that's huge. It's something that is definitely needed in the veteran space. And thank you so much, Jeremy, for being here today. You are definitely deserving to be here at the table. I appreciate you telling me your story, telling the viewers your story, and ending on such a great note, giving us hope, inspiration, and encouragement. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day and be blessed.
Likewise.
Have a great one.
Thank you, Teresa.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.